Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After we met Field Commander Rommel in Normandy last week, we're staying on that side of World War II Europe. We're playing Tank on Tank Westfront from Lock and Load Publishing. We played the Eastern Front of this game back in April. This game will work the exact same way as the Eastern version, but in this game we swap out the Soviets with the Americans. Let's go set up our starting scenario with our starting units. We've got a very simple head-to-head scenario as the Germans and the Americans meet up head-on. So our goal for this scenario is, it's predominantly a game of last man standing. Otherwise, at the end of turn 10, if a player controls two of the hexes B6, E6, or H4, which is all the way up here, they win. But if we don't control that at turn 10, then we'll extend the game one turn at a time until someone wins. So the Germans have two Panzer IV HQs, four regular Panzer IVs, and two Tiger tanks. The Americans have two Sherman HQs, four Shermans, two Wolverines, and a Priest. Each unit will have three numbers on it. I'll bring one of the Priests over as a demonstration. That's the number of spaces it can fire in red. Blue is how much defense it has, so you need to roll that or above to destroy it. And then that's the number of spaces it can move in a given turn. The HQ units are underlined. Come on. The HQ units are all underlined and can be activated to make the group of units that's around them move together. So I think that's everything we need. The last thing we need to do is determine who goes first in this scenario. So we'll roll a d6 for that. 1 to 3, the Americans move first. 4 to 6, the Germans move first. That is a 5, so the Germans move first. So with that, I think we're all set. We can get this on to turn 1, and let's turn it over to the Germans and see what they're doing. These first few turns are probably going to be likely about positioning. So for action 1, the Germans will activate their first Panzer IV over here to send this Panzer IV 1, 2, and then one more for 3. And this Panzer IV will also move 1, 2, but he's going to stop in the city space. The Tiger will move 1, and the Panzer IV will move 1, 2 for keeping somewhat of unit adjacency. Then into action 2, we'll activate the other Panzer IV HQ group. That Tiger will move 1. Panzer IV will move 1, 2. This Panzer IV will move 1, 2, 3. This Panzer IV will move 1, 2 to hold the map hex. And I don't think there's anything the Germans can do right now in terms of firing, so it's mostly just getting cover set up. So the Germans will end their turn and we'll go over to the Americans. So moving over to the Americans, they will activate this Sherman HQ as this Sherman will move 1, 2. Then this one will move 1, 2, 1, and 1, 2. 3 could be a bad idea, but it does give the Americans some options as we're starting to establish into combat. Then for action 2, we'll activate this other Sherman HQ for 1, 2. I believe that road march would work, and it only costs 1 movement, so they can move 1 space because of road march, because the Sherman here spent 2 movement points on the road, so they can move an extra 1. This Sherman will do the same thing, 1, 2, but advance 3. This Wolverine will move, I believe woods cost 2, so 1, 2, 3. And this Sherman will move 1, 2, 3 because it spent its 2 movement on the road. And this Wolverine will move 1, 2, 3. So the Americans are starting to form somewhat of an impenetrable line here. I don't think there's any firing that can happen. 1, 2, 3, no. So a very slow turn as the Americans kind of get situated on their first turn, but that is the end of round 1. So we'll move back over to the Germans for the start of turn 2. Sending any lone Panzer IVs into combat is a pretty easy way to get them picked off. So, for action 1, the Germans will activate this Tiger at the edge of the map, bring it over toward a squadron of German tanks. And for action 2, they'll move this Panzer IV back into woods cover. Then they're going to try to pull this Panzer IV back as well, but they need to roll above a 2 to continue the turn. Which a 6 will let them continue the turn, so they'll get up to 3 action points. So the Germans will indeed pull this Panzer IV. They're going to move it into the city, or are they going to pull back? That would be a 10, but the Americans could very easily go tear that Panzer IV apart. So I think the Germans will just go ahead and pull back. So 1, 2, and leave the orientation like so. Are they going to want to do anything with the rest of their turn? Maybe move this squad of tanks up. We'll see if they get a 1 to 3, if they roll above a 3 then. They do not, so that turns us over to the Americans. What do the Americans want to do here? They may end up making the first move to try to pick off some of these Panzer tanks, some of these German tanks. I think they will go ahead and actually move this Wolverine up. So 1, 2. If they leave it there, they can fire on this lone Panzer, which the Americans will do. So remember, he needs a 9 or above. This lone Wolverine up here needs a 9 or above to take out this Panzer. So we need 2d6. And the roll is +1 because it's the only unit firing. Six plus 1 is 7, will not do it. And the Americans need a 1 to 2 to finish the turn, or need a 1 to 2 to not have the turn end. That's a 3, so they'll go to 3 AP. I think they'll go ahead and activate this Sherman HQ to move up 1, 2 to E6. This Sherman will move 1, 2, 3. And this Sherman HQ will move 1, 2. Then a 1 to 3 ends the turn. That's a 5, so the Americans get their 4th action, which means these two Shermans will fire actually, they could fire at either one of these Panzer IVs. I think they'll go for this one because it's not under cover. So the roll here is going to be +2 because of 2 firing units. Six plus 2 is 8. Won't do it against a Panzer IV. Anyway, that's it for the Americans' turn. We're on German turn 3 now, so let's see what happens there. The Germans are going to have this Panzer IV and this Tiger fire on this lone Sherman. The Tiger's in range to fire from 1, 2, 3, and no line of sight problems. Actually, how do we establish line of sight? Trace a line from the center. Oop, other way. From center to center. Okay. Both of these units can shoot. So it'll be a +2 on that lone Sherman. This Panzer can't fire because it's out of range. Seven plus 2 is 9, so that'll take out this Sherman. Let's see, that was action 1. Action 2. These two Panzers will run back the attack on this, will try and attack on this Sherman. Once again, roll is +2, and there's definitely, they can both shoot. Seven plus 2 is 9, takes out another Sherman. 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 4. So we'll activate this Panzer IV HQ. This Tiger will move... Actually, we'll move the Panzer IV first. 1, 2, and... We'll just do that, I guess. 1, 2... That's actually kind of a bad idea, though. Although the Germans can spare it right now. Assuming they roll a 1 to 3 on here. Or roll above a 3, which that's a 4, so they will take a shot at this Sherman right here. So we're on 4 action points. These two Panzer IVs are going to fire on the Sherman, with this Panzer IV initiating for a +3 actually. 2 firing actions, 2 firing units, plus this Panzer is on a flanking. 8 is definitely enough to take out that Sherman. So that's it for the Germans' turn. Now for the Americans, who are suddenly down 3 Shermans and facing a lot of problems. But the Germans may have left themselves open, as here comes a Wolverine for 1, 2. Get up close and personal to fire at this Panzer for action 2. This will be a +2 because of flanking and 1 firing unit. Six plus 2 is 8, won't take out the Panzer. So a 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Americans. That's a 4, so 3. We'll bring some of these other tanks in. So we'll activate this Sherman HQ up here for 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Need a 1 to 3 to not have the turn end. That's a 2, so the Americans' turn is over. Which means we're into turn 4, and let's see what the Germans are doing. The Germans very much have the upper hand right now, and they're going to try to take advantage of it by starting with me dropping the AP spent card, or token. They're going to start... How are they going to start? I think they're going to start by activating this tank squadron over here. So they're going to send the Panzer IV 1, 2 into a flanking position. 1, 2 there, and then the Tiger will move 1 facing there. So that was action point 1. Action 2 for the Germans will be to take a shot at this lone Wolverine with this Tiger. Just to kind of bother with the formalities. Center to center, the Tiger will be able to shoot at the Wolverine. +1 for the lone unit firing, +1 because the Wolverine's flanked by the tiger. So this is +2. 4 plus 2 is 6 will not get it done. So we've got to roll for the turn. 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 5. So action 3 will be taking a shot at this Sherman. It is a town terrain, so it's actually -1. I've been doing the terrain wrong as far as the towns, because it's actually a movement cost of 2 to move in there. Actually, no, never mind. From the road, it negates a movement point cost of other terrain. So, never mind, we're fine there. But the defense modifier is a -1. I think we're going to have... we moved into position. So we tried to take out this Wolverine, but couldn't. So I think we'll go after this lone Sherman. It's going to be a net plus a lot. I think net +4, because we're going to have... Because I think we're going to have these 4 units fire on it. Because they're all within range. But we're going to initiate from this Panzer IV HQ. So we've got 4, -1 for the city, +1 because of flanking. So this is a net +4. 9 + 4 is 13 is good enough to take out this Sherman. And then moving to action 4, 1 to 3 ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 6, which I think will be best spent by turning this Panzer so it's faced like so. Mostly so it's not taking any kind of flanking fire, but it's still going to be very much surrounded. Turn 4 for the Americans next. We'll go ahead and try to take out this Panzer IV using this Wolverine to do it. There's no city limitation there. But we'll have these 3 units fire on it, so this rolls a +3. Five plus 3 is 8, which won't do it for that Panzer. That was about like that. So that'll bring us over here. Action 2 for the Americans. They're going to try to slip this priest in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rotating like so. And then try to flank this. Actually, they got to roll for end a turn. 1 to 2 will end the turn for the Americans. That's a 6, so they'll try to take out this Panzer IV with this priest. +2 because of 1 unit firing and a flanking. So we need at least a 9. That'll do. So that'll take out the... So that's the first Panzer IV that the Americans have wiped out. 1 to 3 will end the turn for the Americans. Which that's a 4, so their last unit will be to 1, 2, and we'll give the Wolverine the high ground. So that will do it for the Americans' turn, which means we are into German turn 5. Right now for the Germans, it may be a matter of just starting to pick off these American units. So we'll start by, for action point 1, we'll try to take out this priest using the Panzer IV here, the Panzer IV HQ to initiate fire. We will have, I think, these 3 units fire on it, so it's going to be a net +3. 3 units firing plus flanking, -1 for being in the town. I mean, at least an 8. Snake Eyes will not do it. So that was action 1 for the Germans. Action 2, we'll try to take out this Wolverine using the Tiger to initiate fire. with the Panzer IV HQ and the Panzer IV helping out. So once again, we're plus 4 here, actually, because it's straight. Because we got 3 units firing, and we've got the Tiger on a flanking. Everybody's in range, so we can definitely fire. Let's see, 7 plus 4 is 11, so the Wolverine is toast. And then moving down toward 3 action points, but we have to roll above a 1 to 2 first. That's a 4, so the Germans get to their 3rd action point, which will be to... Actually, I think they're going to start to get into position for some of these other tanks. So this Panzer IV HQ is going to activate for movement to move 1, 2, get further flanking, and then this Panzer will move 1, 2. Then a 1 to 3 ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 3, so German turn 5 is over. Let's see what the Americans are doing, but they're in a lot of trouble here. So the Americans are going to... They're going to have to run a real gauntlet here to try to take out some of these German tanks. So they'll activate this Sherman HQ, as this Wolverine will move 1, 2, 3 to try to flank out this Panzer. And this Sherman's going to move 1 and turn like so, just to take the high ground back. Then for action 2, this Wolverine's going to initiate fire on the Panzer HQ with the Sherman supporting. So that'll be plus 3 because of 2 units firing, plus 1 for a flank from the Wolverine. $11 plus 3 is more than enough to take out this German Panzer HQ. All right, moving toward action point 3, but we need to roll for a 1 to 2 first. That's a 5, so the Americans will get their 3rd action point. The Americans are going to fire at... They're going to use this Sherman to attack this Panzer IV HQ. No flanking possible there. But it's a plus 2 for 2 units firing. Nine plus 2 is 11 is enough to take out this Panzer IV HQ. And then heading toward action point 4... 1 to 3 ends the turn for the Americans. That's a 5, so they get their 4th action point, which will be to try to turn the priest, so it's not dealing with so much flanking. That's it for the Americans' turn 5. Turn 6 now. And looking at our map, the Germans... How set up are the Germans to win? B6, E6, or H4? So right now, the Americans are considered to have last controlled these 2 cities. The Germans for this one. But I think they're probably going to try to win the game via last man standing. So, let's get into the Germans' next turn. We'll move that over toward the Germans' action points. Action 1, they'll bring this Tiger up with the goal of eventually firing on that Sherman, which action 2 will be moving this Tiger up as well, mostly so I can try to take out this priest. 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 3, so the Germans get their 3rd AP. They will fire on this priest and everybody can shoot at it. Everybody around here can shoot at it. So it's going to be a plus. So +3 is the net roll here. Because 4 firing units minus 1 for the town defense cover. We need at least an 8 to take the priest out. 10 plus 4, I believe, was 14. So the priest is gone. Moving down, a 1 to 3 ends the turn for the Germans, who are far from in trouble right now. They've got 5 tanks left, including both of their heavy hitters, to the Americans' 3. That's a 4, so they will actually take a shot at this Sherman with this from this lone Tiger. He's at least a 9 to take it out. Plus, roll is +1 for one firing unit. 7, 8 won't do it. So that's the end of the Germans. That's the end of German turn 6. For the Americans, what are the Americans doing? All right, I think the Americans are going to turn this Wolverine for action 1. Action 2, they're going to fire on this Panzer 4. Need at least a 9, but they have +1 on flanking. I think that's right about here. Actually, is that a flanking? I don't know if it is actually. It looks like flanking, but I don't think it is. It is. So if we're turned here and then that's turned, I think that is still a flanking attack for that Wolverine. Actually, I can't get a clear enough look in the manual to tell, but I think that's still a flanking attack. And of course, I had one fall out the back. I heard it land on the vent back there, but I didn't see where it landed after that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I've got several other dice right here that I can use for the time being. Let's grab one of these. A 9 is enough to take out this Panzer 4. Alright, so heading for action point 3, but a 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Americans. That's a 6, so they get their third action point, which will be to fire on this Tiger. Need at least an 11 to take it out, +1. Roll is +1. We'll tip the camera up just a bit. That won't do. A 1 to 2 ends the turn for the Americans. That's a 1, so that'll do it for the Americans' turn 6. Now we're heading into turn 7 for the Germans. If the Germans work fast, they could probably win a control game here. So for action 1, the Germans will move this Tiger up to C7 into B6 and control that town. Then they will move, then they'll bring these two Panzer, then they'll bring for action 2, they'll bring this Panzer 4 up 1, 2 with the plan of taking that town. Heading toward action point 3, but they need a 1 or 2 to continue the turn. They need a 1 to 2 to end the turn, I should say. That's a 4, so they get their action point 3. Which will actually mean the Germans are going to fire on this Wolverine with the Tiger and the Panzer 4. So it's a +2 for 2 firing units. Need at least an 8 to take it out. 6, 7, 8 is enough to take out the Wolverine, surprisingly enough. Heading toward action point 4, 1 to 3. Ends the turn for the Germans. That's a 3, so German turn 7 is over. And the Americans are in a very bad way coming out of that round. So, the Americans will... I guess they'll attack this tiger because they've really got no other play right now. Unless they can get lucky and try to start picking off some of these tanks pretty quick. 7 plus 1 is 8 will not take out that Panzer IV. They'll try their luck with the Tiger from this Sherman. Six plus 1 is 7, won't do it either. And can the Americans afford to keep the high ground right now? They're going to have to win this game by going on the offensive. So I think they are going to have to move. But they'll have to roll above a 3 or above to keep the turn going. Which that's a 3, so they will move 1, 2. They're going to need all the cover they can get for this. 1 to 3 ends the turn for the Americans. That's a 1, so that's actually it for the Americans' turn, for American turn 7. Which means we'll be into turn 8 for the Germans, and they've actually got an eye here pretty soon. They could conceivably win the game on this turn, but let's see what happens here. Action 1 for the Germans. They'll move this Tiger. Actually, do they even have to move the Tiger? I don't think they do. Because I think they can, yeah. That Tiger can actually still shoot at this Sherman right here. Still going to be a -1 either way because of its town cover. But yes, the can line of sight pass through are all units. So that Tiger actually would have to move. How far would it have to move to get line of sight? Or would I have to get the... Okay, I wouldn't have to get the Panzer IV out of the way if I bring the Tiger up there for action 1. Then action 2, that Tiger and the Panzer IV will shoot at the Sherman in the town. Roll as a net +1 because of 2 units firing minus the town cover for the Sherman HQ. Five plus 2 is 7, won't get it done. So heading into action 3, 1 to 2 for the Germans ends the turn. That's a 1, so the Germans' turn is actually over to the relief of the Americans. I should say, immense relief of the Americans. So... for action 1, I think the Americans are going to have to abandon the high ground. They're kind of in a bad way here. 1, 2, 3. For action 1, then action 2. Both of them are going to fire at this Panzer IV right here, which is going to be a net +2. Eight plus 2 is 10, so this Panzer IV has been destroyed. And then they can't do anything else with their actions, so the turn is over for the Americans. Which brings us into turn 9, and we're definitely nearing the end of it. The question is, how is this going to end? Let's find out, though, shall we? The Germans had quite the upper hand, probably about 3 turns ago, but that upper hand has since... well, it hasn't quite just vanished, but it's definitely not too far from it. So, for action 1, this Tiger will move 1, 2, and adjust its facing here so it's flanking the Sherman. Then action 2, all 3 of these German panzers will attack the Sherman HQ. Everybody's got range, so we should be able to all shoot. Right? Yes. Yes. And yes. Okay. So we're initiating the attack from this tiger, which is another flanking attack. So +3. So 3 firing units minus 1 for town cover is a net +2. 10 plus 2 is 12 is enough to wipe out this Sherman HQ. So we've only got 1 unit left. The question is if the Germans can deal with it or not. They're going to roll a 1 to 3, maybe get into flanking position to try to deal with the Sherman. Got a 1 to 2. That's a 1, so German turn 9 is over. The Americans are actually in a very bad position right now. I think their only hope right now is to move here, 1, 2, 3, and try to flank that tiger out for an attack. So that'll be action 2 for the Americans. This Sherman will attack this tiger with flanking. Plus roll is net +2. Boxcars wipes out this tiger. So the Sherman's going to have to be the hero of the day, but that will do it for American turn 9. Turn 10 for the Germans, and let's see if they can run down this Sherman. I'm betting not, but we'll find out. All right, first thing we're going to do is this Panzer IV is going to move 1, 2 up the road there. Then for action 2, the Tiger is going to move 1, 2 into E6. Then we have to roll and hope the Germans are hoping they don't see a 1 or a 2 here, because this is their best chance to win the scenario right here. That's a 3, so they get 1 shot at this. Both of these units, both the Panzer IV and the Tiger, are going to fire at the Sherman. +2, and they need at least a 9. Snake Eyes will not do it for the Germans. And I think that is it for their turn, actually. So they got very lucky on that one. American turn 10, however. And I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off. So for the first action for the Americans, they're going to move into the town. And then action 2, they're going to shoot at the Panzer IV. +1 needs at least a 9. That will take out that Panzer IV. But that is the end of American turn 10. And I believe at the end of this scenario... Okay, otherwise the player who controls 2 of these hexes. I believe control is established by who's in them, or does it just turn into a game of... It might just turn into a game of last man standing at this point. How does it determine... There used to be a way you could establish... There isn't like a rules reference, of course there isn't. Pieces, the map... How does it... It might just be... It might just end up being who physically holds each town. So yeah, this might just be a game of last man standing at this point, in all honesty. But that's sure what it's looking like to me. I thought there was some way that I thought there was some way to establish control based on who last moved through a space, but... Oh, okay, yeah. For all scenarios, a player controls a hex if he was the last player to move a unit through it. So I think, to my shock, actually, to be honest, I don't think the Germans ever moved into H4. So I think the Americans had always controlled it, and shockingly enough, the Americans have actually won this scenario, to my utter surprise. So, yeah, that looked dire, but the Germans had an oversight. They forgot to take this map hex over. Actually, they couldn't really get to it. They were so focused on destroying the Americans. But on a control technicality, the Americans have won the game. So, let's move back up top to wrap this video. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up. That will do it for this playthrough of Tank on Tank Westfront. The giveaway for Hornet Leader is still open until next week, so if you haven't already, and you're a US-based subscriber interested in getting an open but unpunched copy of Hornet Leader, find the giveaway video and leave a like on the video along with a comment sharing a game, product, or recipe you've tried because of one of my videos. Sunday we're continuing our background campaign of Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, and Wednesday we're playing the 8th game on my TAC-UP Wargaming list, as we play Absolute War, the Russian Front 1941-45. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.